When we observe the more puzzling aspects of human behavior both in others and, perhaps more disconcertingly, within ourselves, there is a profoundly simple yet powerful question we should always keep at the forefront of our minds. What did you need to do in your family of origin to get noticed, cared for, and loved? Think of this question not as an accusation, but as a master key capable of unlocking some of the most confusing rooms within our own psyche. Have you ever found yourself working to the point of exhaustion for a goal that no longer brings you joy? Have you ever sabotaged a beautiful relationship just as it was becoming serious? Or perhaps you've noticed a pattern of being unable to say no, constantly prioritizing the needs of others to your own detriment. These behaviors, which often feel irrational and self-defeating in the present, are rarely random. They are ghosts of the past, echoes of old survival strategies. So let's rephrase that key question. What were the conditions of love you grew up with? And by extension, might you still be unconsciously operating under those same rules today as if you were running on an old, outdated operating system? It is a startling truth that our deepest minds can take a very long time, decades. Even a life Demito recognized that they are no longer subject to the old parental rules. The child's brain is a marvel of adaptation. Its primary directive is to secure attachment to a caregiver, because for a child, attachment equals survival. To do this, it will learn with astonishing precision exactly what the environment requires. If the environment requires silence, the child becomes quiet. If it requires high achievement, the child becomes a performer. These rules aren't just ideas. They become deeply wired into our neural pathways. A young tree that must grow around a large boulder will have that bend in its trunk for its entire life, long after the boulder has been removed. We, as adults, are often that tree, still shaped by a family dynamic that is long gone. What we devote extraordinary energy to as adults is therefore likely to be a sophisticated, grown-up version of what we once had to do to secure the affection we all desperately needed to survive our infancy. The cast of characters in this drama is varied, but the underlying mechanics are remarkably consistent. There are parents who, often out of their own anxieties about status, demand that their offspring succeed. The child learns a simple, brutal equation: achievement equals love. As an adult, this person may become the workaholic, the relentless perfectionist, forever chasing the next promotion or accolade, yet finding no lasting peace. Their self-worth is not inherent. It is perpetually on loan, contingent on their last success. And just as often, but more covertly, there are parents who require their children to fail. This sounds paradoxical, but it serves the parent's fragile ego. A child who fails will not outshine the parent, will not abandon them, and will remain dependent. This child learns that their smallness is a form of love and loyalty. As an adult, they may be the chronic underachiever, the one who quits just before the finish line, convinced they're simply not good enough, never realizing this belief was a required tribute to a parent's insecurity. There are parents who need their children to look conspicuously attractive, to be a trophy that reflects well on them. The child's identity becomes fused with their appearance. In adulthood, this can manifest as an obsessive focus on diet and beauty, an inability to feel worthy without external validation, and a deep-seated fear of aging. They were loved for what they looked like, not for who they were. And then there are the darker, more tragic scenarios. Parents who are so sexually uncontained that their children are incentivized in a desperate act of self-preservation to make themselves unattractive. They may put on weight, neglect their hygiene, or damage their bodies to repel the horrifying danger of incestuous advances. The subconscious logic is heartbreaking. If I am repulsive, I will be safe. This can lead to a lifetime of shame and self-loathing, a profound conviction of being unlovable that, paradoxically, was once a shield. Let's consider another common archetype, the caretaker child. This is the child who had to become a little adult, tending to a parent's emotional or practical needs, managing their depression, mediating their fights, becoming their confidant. This child learns that their value lies in their usefulness. Their own needs are a dangerous inconvenience. As an adult, they're the compulsive people pleaser, drawn to codependent relationships where they can fix broken partners, all while their own soul remains unnourished. The questions: what conditions of love did you grow up under? And what did you need to do to get noticed? Become particularly useful when we try to connect these past roles to present-day behaviors that, from the angle of our own flourishing, make no logical sense. Why does someone exhaust themselves earning gargantuan sums of money they'll never be able to spend? Perhaps they are still the achiever child, trying to earn the love of a parent who is no longer there. Why would someone blow up one relationship after another? Perhaps they are the failure child, terrified of success they were taught they don't deserve. Or perhaps they are the caretaker, who loses interest once their partner becomes healthy and no longer needs them. Why would someone be sexually seductive with everyone they encounter? Perhaps they are still the trophy child, for whom desirability is the only known currency of worth. Why can someone never find a way to be serious or appropriately authentic? Perhaps they were the family jester, whose role was to diffuse tension with humor, learning early on that their true, vulnerable feelings were unwelcome or dangerous. The answers always lie in the secret, complex bargains that were struck, often unspoken, between child and parent. Impress the world, or I will ignore you. Stay small and loyal to me, or I won't be able to endure my loneliness. Manage my chaotic emotions, or be denied my care. Protect me from my depression, or I may end up taking my life. But these often melancholy analyses are not meant to leave us in despair. Far from it. They are the beginning. They open up the path to true, profound liberation. Once we can clearly see that our current struggles are, in effect, echoes of old survival strategies, behaviors forced out of us simply to exist, we are finally in a position to break free from our invisible manacles. The first step is this very awareness. To connect the dots is to take back your power. The second step is to grieve. We must allow ourselves to feel sadness for our younger self, for the child who had to perform so tirelessly, who had to shrink or shine, who had to caretake or disappear. This isn't self-pity. It is a necessary and compassionate acknowledgement of what was lost, the chance to be loved unconditionally, just for being. From this place of compassionate awareness, we can begin the gentle, courageous work of reparenting ourselves. This means consciously giving ourselves what we never received. It means learning to validate our own feelings, to set firm boundaries, to celebrate our own small victories, and to forgive ourselves for our imperfections. It means understanding that we are allowed to rest, to have needs, and to take up space in the world. We can look back with profound empathy for that child, but with that empathy comes a powerful recognition. We are no longer that helpless child. We are no longer operating under the narrow, often cruel rules of those early years. The privilege of adulthood is the profound opportunity to become our own loving parent. It is the chance to finally find our way to our own, less distorted, and infinitely more generous conditions of love, conditions based not on performance, but on our inherent worth. This is the journey towards authentic selfhood, where we no longer seek approval from the ghosts of the past, but instead build a future on a foundation of self-acceptance and genuine connection. We learn slowly and surely that we are worthy of love simply because we exist. If this exploration of the inner self resonates with you, and you'd like to continue this journey of understanding, healing, and growth, please consider subscribing to our channel. We are committed to creating more content that helps us navigate the beautiful and complex landscape of our minds together.